Hey YouTube, coming at you with the Beyond the Hype with Kanto Ninetales. So we're going to figure out whether this Pokemon is that much better with Ember and whether it has a place in the meta because of it. And obviously, as you can see in the title, I'm very happy with how this plays. Again, for those of you who are newer to this channel, about 4 years ago, Kanto Ninetales was my essentially channel mascot because I was like definitely one of the first people in the world to realize that Kanto Ninetales broke the Trevenant Walrein Registeel core. So this was before it got any buffs, but I kind of recognized that it would do great, and I loved it, and I grinded with it. And then the meta evolved, and it became more waters and more grounds, and then it just became unusable. So they tried buffing Fire Spin in the past. That did not give it play, and now they buffed Ember. And they made Ember a 4.5 energy move, which is fantastic. So you have Ember as a 4.5 energy move. 2.88 damage, not amazing, but not the worst, right? Even when you look at some of these non-stab, I just mentioned like Steelix, non-stab Dragon Tails is like 3 damage. So 2.88, not great, but not bad. But the 4.5 energy is what you're using this for. Weather Ball also got buffed this season. So because you get same type attack bonus, and because you are a shadow version, does the shadow matter on this one? I think it does. Usually I'd say like 95% of the time, shadows do not matter. You know, the non-shadow is 31. So I think it's, yeah, I guess it's potentially usable. I think shadow will be better for this reason. With the shadow bonus, you are now spamming weather balls for 86.4 damage. And by spam, I mean spam, because the Ember is now 4.5 energy per turn. You are getting to this charge move in 8 turns. Think Drapion's Aqua Tail, but now you are stabbing. Now you're throwing a stab boosted this season Weather Ball for 86 damage. So, and because Ember's only 4.5 energy, you now get to your absolute nuke of Overheat. People are like, should I run Solar Beam for coverage for grass? No, like you can. It could be spicy. I've also seen Shy Shock. There's no point of running anything, in my opinion, outside of Weather Ball and Overheat, because even a resisted Overheat is still going to do like 130, 120, 130 damage, which is like your Dragon Energy hard-hitting sort of move on Regidrago, right? So being able to nuke Overheats in 14 turns and then 12, or just spam this Weather Ball in 8 makes it so valuable. Now, the non-shadow, the stats on Ninetales are like pretty decent. And even in the shadow version, you can see down here, usually when it is a glass cannon, one of the negatives are it's a glass cannon. It is still not considered a glass cannon because your stats are kind of more evenly distributed. So if this was a non-shadow, this takes moves with ease. As a shadow, it can still take some moves, right? Because you're giving up 20% of defense here. So it does drop to like 115. But 115, 126 is it's not good. But it's not like I need to shield up every single move. So you can survive some moves. The problem is, not a problem, but your attack does not become that like 140 plus damage you want to see in a glass cannon. So you're giving up some defense. You can still take moves. You're not going for like 150 attack where your Overheat nukes everything. So I'm making this sound amazing. Will it have play in the meta? Yes. Is it going to become instant meta? No. And it will not become instant meta because of its 3 weaknesses. And I always say, like, you want like 1 to 3 weaknesses to resistance. And you know what? It has 3 weaknesses to 6 resistances. So you might look at just the number there and be like, oh yeah, that's pretty good, right? Resisting Bug got buffed previous seasons, and Fairy got buffed, and then Steel got buffed. So like you have some resistances. Unfortunately, Ground, Rock, and Water are 3 of the most meta typings. I mean, Ground and Water are I would say Ground, Water, and Ghost are the 3 most meta typings in the Great League. So Ground and Water is an absolute killer for this. Rock now just got buffed this season, right? You have Rock Slide that got buffed, which makes Carbink more usable now, and you had Smackdown that got buffed. So you have, if you just look at the Rock type Pokemon here, it's mostly just gonna be those 2. But you also have Gradilli with Rock Tomb. I don't think you're going to see many Auroras, but it's more the grounds and the waters that you need to worry about. So here's all the grounds with the ground moves. Your Stunfisk with Mud Bomb. You have your Earthquake on Clodsire. You have your Scorching Sands. And then you have your just Mud Slap users in Gastrodon and Marowak. And you have, like, we're not even at the 30 rank yet. And you have more Mud Slap users and more Earthquake users. And then You go to the water, which has been meta since the first season. So water just straight up resist, like at least ground you can hit neutral against. But water, you can't. Water's resisted. Now, some of these waters are also half secondary typing. So Empoleon, you can win that matchup, and I'll show you that in the battles here. Lapras, potentially too, because it is half ice, that is neutral. But like Jellicent, Gastrodon, Azumarill, Gyarados, Feraligatr, these are just going to resist all your moves. So is it better? Yes. Is it playable? Yeah, of course, for sure in this meta. Is it going to be meta? No, not with the way that the meta is. But that's a lot of talking. So let's get into the battles. I paired it with, you got to cover rock. You got to cover 3 weaknesses: rock, ground, and water. And at the same time, you need something neutral to hit against dragons, because dragons will resist fire. So you need to also think about what resists fire, dragon being one of them. So you need to cover that. So you're going to see 2 teams here. This team is what I finished with, and I'll start with this because I like these ones better. So it is Ferret and Blastoise. It is part of that 490 elo team that I had with Annihilate on the lead. So I just put Ninetales on the lead because I know the back team works. And then earlier I tried Dunsparce and Jellicent. I think Jellicent's great. Dunsparce I tried because the Rock Slide got buffed. The problem is it's the rollout that got nerfed in the previous seasons that makes it not as strong. Like 90% of the time, you're still just throwing rollout drill run anyway. So having a boosted, like a buffed Rock Slide does not really help you as much as you want it to on Dunsparce. So Ninetales. So you're going to see me play this Ninetales out multiple ways. And often it was what Pokemon I was against. So if it was something like Annihilate where I thought I could just go double Weather Ball, I played that out. If it was something super bulky, like I went against a Clodsire once, I went to the Overheat, threw the Overheat nuke, and then bailed into Ferret as a safe swap. Blastoise could also work as a safe swap. So the thing with Ninetales with these Weather Balls, like I said, you're never going to one-shot anything, but you're going to put a lot of pressure on the different shield scenarios. So this one, I do end up shielding here. I don't even know if that's the right move. I think I wanted to like try and farm down here, and then I kind of realized, oh yeah, they've boosted their counter twice now with Rage Fist. So I don't think I'm playing this right. I think I probably should have just let it go in the one shield. Empoleon comes in, but you know what? So I come in here with Ferret, I think, because I have no moves on Blastoise, but I can take the Hydro. So I come in here and just do some chip with these Sucker Punches, and then catch the Hydro Cannon, knowing that that Sucker Punch damage is valuable, and then being able to catch a resisted move here is going to be valuable too. I mentioned in my Empoleon video yesterday, some of these battles matchups are difficult because it takes 3 Drill Pecks to take out something like a Blastoise. Because if you can just throw a Hydro Cannon, Empoleon is fantastic, but if you can't, you know, it actually puts on some pressure onto your Empoleon, because you just have to throw 3 moves. So I come in here, they eventually do try and catch on the Charizard. So I get to the Swift. The problem is Charizard is also running Ember, which means this Blast Burn is going to come real quick. So I need to get this out of here because I cannot really take a Blast Burn. Plus, I think the Empoleon is at a move or very close to a move. And do take it out. And unfortunately, they do get to move right here. But as I mentioned in my video yesterday, the problem with Shadow Empoleon is you give up bulk, but if you get against the bulky Pokemon that does not take super effective, they can live. And that is the case with Ferret there. I was at like 60%. I live with 1 HP. That's all you need. Take it out there for the win. Charger Bug is a good lead. They are weak to fire, so they are likely to leave. We'll see what they get into. They get into Bibarel. Oh yeah, I remember this one. I'm so dumb. Okay, so don't play it this way. Bibarel's tough. And Blastoise deals with most waters. This Bibarel's just a really like unique one. Blastoise, I mean, cannot deal with Jellicent, but you have Ferret with Sucker Punch and resisting the Ghost that can deal with Jellicent. If you see a Jellicent lead, I don't even know what you do. Maybe stay in an Overheat and then get into Ferret and try and combo it. But Blastoise, what I really like about Blastoise, if you saw my videos last season, you beat Azumarill with ease, you beat Lapras with ease, you can do pretty neutral against the Feraligatr, because those Hydro Cannons actually do start adding up, especially from the Shadow. So I really like Blastoise as a water. You can also pair, like I said, you can pair Ninetales with Jellicent. I think that works as well to cover your sort of ground weakness and to deal with your waters. I think those two work very well. So, but coming in against a a water Pokemon, and then losing Switch, and then losing Switch to now have a Mud Slapper on here is not a good combo. But the Weather Balls are going to put some pressure on here. So I do grab the second shield, but they are sort of rightly committing to the farm down, and now they're going to have multiple moves. The Charge Bug has moves. So kind of put myself in a bad spot in this matchup just by how I played this out. So not much you can do there. So that's going to be one of the problems with Ninetales, is trying to cover all those weaknesses with 2 Pokemon, right? Water, ground, rock, and dragons. So you need essentially 2 Pokemon. Here's a Dragon Fire. I'll just say swap to Ferret. You essentially need 2 Pokemon that can cover the variety there. I assume just going 2 is just a brutal swing, and there's no point of shielding. Corviknight comes in, which is unfortunate because now it's just going to resist all these moves from Ferret. We expected, this is why kind of Ferret dropped a little bit this season, because we expected a lot more steals this season. But Ferret's still Ferret, right? It has some bulk. These sucker punches are doing good. Swift is, I think, Swift is, sorry, not Swift, but Trailblaze is very resisted on the flying there, but flying steel at that. But I think it was just more valuable to boost my attack and put some pressure on. So end up getting to the Blastoise on the Turtonator. I don't really know what other moves it has besides Brutal Swing, so I'm probably going to shield this one. Yeah, it is just a Brutal Swing. That's okay. Now getting to this Hydro 3 versus, yeah, so 3 versus 5 is not bad. Optimal timing is 9 versus 10, but I just do not know how much energy it had, and I'd rather just put on some pressure there. So they get to a Dragon Claw, which is now sort of new stats this season, so that does a decent chip, and a Gastrodon in the back. So another one of those like kind of tricky ones where they had a Dragon Fire in the front, which is going to be Ninetales, and then they have a Mud Slap user in the back. So that is a recipe for disaster there. So not much I can do, and that is going to be the case with Ninetales a lot of the time. You just don't have a lot of play with the meta. And that's why people are like, can I just run Solar Beam because I get coverage for that? But my argument would be like the likelihood of you getting to a Solar Beam is so low in those matchups anyways. Whereas having this matchup where you can just do this, get to the overheat, throw the nuke, either do like 80+% damage or grab a shield, take it to the deep yellow, that one Sucker Punch puts them to the red, and they come back with Lapras, which is not even an amazing answer. So I get the Trailblaze off, which means now it's just an easy flip here, and that would be fantastic to get a Blastoise that can at least take the move from Clodsire that it cannot be taken from Ninetales there. So did they give, no, yeah, so they came in there. Oh, but I'm coming in here anyways. The reason I'm coming in here is because 1, I'm going to outpace. 2, not Poison Sting is not doing super effective. And 3, Rollout is resisted. So I'd rather come in here with Ember and actually do some chip here than come in there in the back end here. And it is a Charizard in the back. Rollout, double super effective here. This is also why I think Blastoise is going to have some play between the Talonflames and the Charizard that are everywhere. Taking that resisted Blast Burn, getting to a move. I've seen Charizard with both Dragon Breath and Ember now. So take it down to 1 HP. That's all I need to do. Come in, Ember. And then I think I'm a jerk in the ending here. Shields up. I only need a Weather Ball. They're in like a couple HP, but you know, when you can spam overheats at 7 and like 14 and 12, just might as well do it. So overheating, what is left there? Okay, Empoleon. This is the matchup I wanted to show you. So it is a non-Shadow Empoleon. So I don't think one Weather Ball is going to take out a non-Shadow. And I really still don't want to take one Hydro Cannon. The good news is, because it only takes 8 to a weather ball and it takes 10 to a hydro, if you scare them into using both shields here, which I do, and we CMP'd on that one, I now get to the overheat before they get to a third hydro. So 2 weather balls, because they spam so quick, now allows me to get to an overheat and one shot the Empoleon because it is half steel. So take switch, and I was going to instant swap no matter what. So I instant swap my ferret into a Dusclops. So they have an answer in the back, which is not surprising, but that's okay. We will still get a Trailblaze off. That is neutral. They're going to have to throw. And at this point, I think I just basically sacrifice Ninetales and then align my Blastoise. But you know what? I don't even really need to sacrifice here. Because if you live, what you're going to see here is I live a Rage Fist. Because again, Ninetales is not a glass cannon. And you live these fast moves. And I get to another overheat here. So this overheat will take the Shadow Dusclops to 2 HP. That 2 rollouts will take this down. Yeah, this is when it is a lot of fun, when you can just blast some overheats on things and just cause a lot of problems. Morpeko. So I kind of need to not only stay in this matchup, but like win this matchup, because my back line is not going to have a good time here. I think Morpeko is glassy enough that I can just go straight Ember Weather Ball here. And the only concern is if they bait Psychic Fangs, because then they can just like win the CMP on the third Psychic Fangs. But they do just go Aura Wheel, which means that now I'm just going to outpace to these Weather Balls, because they just did a 10 turn move and these are only 8 Weather Balls, and they shield for the second time, and these Embers are adding up. I think we're going to CMP here. That's fine. But being able to just beat Morpeko here in the 2 shield because they just went straight Aura Wheel is fantastic. It is a blast to be able to overheat and really put on pressure. Oh boy, they're in trouble. It's really a joy to be able to throw a 187 damage move in 14 and 12. Like, I don't think any other Pokemon is like that. I should have just thrown the move here. I was just being greedy. I just wanted to be a jerk. Does not matter. This matchup's over. But being able to spam 86 damage moves at 8 turns is really what's going to make Ninetales super valuable. The overheat, like I said, the overheat to put a Clodsire or a Dusclops to the deep yellow or red is amazing. Being able to just spam Weather Balls in neutral situations that are potentially going to put on pressure is incredible. So in this matchup, this is with a couple with Dunsparce and Blastoise. And Jellicent. This is also why I just like, if you're going to be weak to ground, I don't think having like a Dunsparce that has only rollout that is resisted and then non-stop Joe runs was the right Pokemon to use. So I changed it up after I did a few of these matchups and did not start. I think I started like 2-2 with this team at best. So Jellicent here did grab a shield, which is great. But at this point, because I know that the Marowak is in the front, it's basically just a sacrifice of Ninetales. And they come in Blastoise, right? So I'm going to overheat here just to try and chip this, knowing that I need to run with Dunsparce anyways. And this will just give you a good showcase of what an overheat can do, like 50% plus to a Blastoise, right? We take that, honestly, for a 14 turn move on a fire Pokemon against a very, very bulky water Pokemon. We take a move that does 50%. So I do think that Ninetales, even against some of these like bad Pokemon, are going to have play. Some play. Like if you get against a Carbink that resists the fire and just going to rock throw you down, you're in trouble. Blastoise, you're going to get killed there too, but you will, it is half steel. And I did play a matchup. I don't know if I put it in here. I did play a matchup against Blastoise, and the overheat does like 50-ish plus %. So not a good matchup and not one you want to be in, but has options. So I think in conclusion here, maybe there's like one more battle after this. Yeah, I think there's one more battle after this. But I think in conclusion, Ninetales is... it's very strong that you can just go straight Ember Weather Ball at that speed. It is flexible that you can just overheat things and bail and really put some pressure on shields. And then I think it's limited in the fact that the meta is still very water and ground heavy. And then in sort of neutral matchups here, being able to spam weather balls and potentially like if you threaten an overheat, I was the past saying like Shadow Charizard, Shadow Typhlosion does not care about your typings because you didn't want to take a Blast Burn from a Shadow Typhlosion. Oops, sorry, let me hide that. Just to give you the numbers, Typhlosion, yes, a Shadow Typhlosion is more attack heavy, 132. So you're looking at like you're a glass cannon, like 145, 150. Yeah, so like 160 attack, so way higher. But that 160 attack Blast Burn only does one, like the damage. I mean, there's a larger calculation, but the Blast Burn damage is 158.4 from a Shadow Typhlosion. And again, to repeat, the overheat on Ninetales is 187.2. So it's one of those, yes, the attack is lowered, so in the overall calculation, it doesn't. Maybe it's closer to each other, but you can't underestimate how much that overheat is going to do in the majority of matchups. And being able to spam one of the hardest hitting, if not the hardest hitting, like move in the game at a pace of 14 and 12 is incredible. So overheat it's not one of the, is it one of the best damage per energy though? I think it's actually one of the highest damage per energy moves. Yes. So it's not the most damage because you do have like 100, like Arrow Blast at 170 and Draco Meteor and Roar of Time and Dragon Ascent. So you have these like crazy Master League only moves. But if you look at damage per energy, Clanging Scales, which I already talked about how strong Como is because of that. Clanging Scale, 45 energy, 120 damage, 2.66. V Create, which same thing on Victini, 40 for 95, 2.37. But then it's Brave Bird, which lowers your defense times 3. And Leaf Storm. And then Overheat is right there with it. Leaf Storm and Overheat are clones of each other. 55 energy, 130 damage, 2.36 damage per energy, 100% chance of lowering your attack by 2. So when you lower your attack by 2, the play is you have to throw the overheat and reset because a 2 times lowered overheat should be your last option. You're only going to get to one move on Ninetales, throw the overheat. You are going to throw an overheat, you need to bail into a Pokemon to reset your attack. You cannot have Ninetales in a matchup with like 2 Pokemon left and throw your overheat as your first move, because then your attack is cut in half. You essentially feather danced yourself. And then you'll have absolutely zero chance against the second Pokemon. So if you're going to throw the overheat, make sure it is the last move you're throwing or you are resetting the attack lowering on another Pokemon. But yeah, very happy that it is much, much more usable now. But again, when you look at the rankings on PvPoke, I showed that you can win the Empoleon one, and Corviknight's number 1, so you're going to beat that. But Carbink, Bastiodon, Stunfisk, Clodsire could be close. Lapras is going to be close. You need to probably land an overheat, and then the Sparkling Eyes are going to basically take you out. You got a lot of, like, even Credilli is neutral against you, but it has a Rock Tomb, so that'll be close. Jelsense, and then all your Mud Boys. Not just Mud Boys, Mud, Ground. Gashrons, Marowaks, Runerigus, Azumarill here. The Dragons, I haven't even mentioned the Dragons yet that resist it. Reggie, Zweilous, Dragonair, Dragonite, Guzzlord, all these dragons resist fire too. So definitely has play, but when you are taking super effective or your charge moves are resisted by 20 of the top 40 meta, it just limits how good of a Pokemon you are overall. But happy to see that it actually has some play. So thank you, Niantic, for actually giving it a move that works. Anyways, that is it. I'm using, this afternoon, you will see Togekiss and others hyped it up. I don't know how much they hyped it up because I watched their videos. I saw their thumbnail. I can't even lie. It is very Togekiss is very, very strong with the Aura Wheel because Aura Wheel is essentially a Hydro Cannon clone. You don't get the same type of attack bonus on it like you would a Swampert or all these other water Pokemon that are running Hydro Cannon, but 40 for 80 is a Hydro Cannon clone in terms of stats, and Peck is getting you to that move in 10 like you would on a Hydro Cannon. So yes, it is a very, very strong Pokemon. Stay tuned for that this afternoon. Anyways, that's it. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.